Hello, everybody. This is Errol Ebanks, and this is Every Moment with Errol E. Today, we have an awesome guest, and she is a special guest. She is a producer, she travels the world, and she is gearing up to be a success. Please welcome Qiana Key Robbins.
Hi, how's it going?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So, you are going to be the first guest on this Every Moment podcast. Just got these new mics set up, so pretty exciting.
Woohoo!
Yes. Oh man. So, how was your day? How was your day today?
Today has been a great day. In the world of producing,
Yeah.
things went very well today.
Nice. So, give me a timeline. What did you do today at work with producing and things like that?
So right now I'm in the post-production phase.
Okay.
A typical day normally stems with me working on, well, as I will say in general, it stems from me working with pre-production, production, and post.
Okay.
In pre-production, we're getting all the elements together to make sure that what we do in production goes well, and then can trickle down into post. So you're gathering all the materials and necessities that you need, such as location, talent, crew, scripting, putting together a production book, making sure you have funding.
Sure.
Yeah, funding is a good one.
Yes, so we're definitely going to go back to the funding part because that's important.
And being able to manage funding, making sure you have the correct gear that you need to get the, correct shots.
Right.
And then you get into the production phase where you are mapping out the script and doing the blocking and doing rehearsals and building that set, lighting said set,
Sure.
Making sure the gear is ready to go and the crew's ready to go, making sure they have the necessities that they need. That also is a factor that plays in pre-production when you meet with your crew and, have them take a look at the location that we're going to be filming in. I like to take my director of photography, which is our camera operator.
They call that the DP?
Yeah, I like to take, the DP and the gaffer with me, so, and yes, I did say camera guy, but it also can be a camera woman, so a DP can be either or.
Women can do it all.
Yes, they can. I like working with females in the industry in different roles. It's been great having females come up recently that I've been able to work with that are now in the lighting department.
Nice.
They're in the lighting department. It's so awesome. Even the audio department.
That's true.
Yeah, they're branching out now, not just, working behind the camera, but they're getting their hands dirty, and I love it.
That's good, because now that I think about it, like, it seems like not that long ago, like, a lot of women were really not in these kind of top roles or different roles. It was always geared towards the guys, saying it can only be a cameraman, and the woman had to play like the shadow or be more,
or the producer or assistant,
Yeah. But now there's like tons of women who are being directors, lead producers, having their own film companies, and that's a awesome breakthrough to see, like, not only like women, but young girls actually being able to now say, I can look up to someone that is like me, that's really making waves in a male dominating industry.
Yeah, and being able to shadow them and, formulating if that role's good for them.
True.
So once all everything's taken care of in pre-production, we've shot everything we needed. We bring that footage back to the shop, and it's the studio, but it's the production company we bring it back to, but I like to call it the shop.
Yes.
And then we get into post-production with our editors and graphics team and our audio technicians.
Nice.
Our sound design. So we make sure that all those key people play a factor.
Right.
And we put out the best commercial, infomercial, training video, short film that that we have, that's make sure that it's nice and the client is it's something that they're looking for. It matches their brand.
Sure.
So yeah.
So there's always a lot of moving parts in like the film industry or in this industry where you need help from people. It's not just like maybe picking up a camera and recording, which is great. We see like a lot of YouTubers do that, but there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes and preparing, like you said, with the script, with finding the right team, even if it's just you, just researching to make sure that content you are trying to produce is good and engaging and interesting.
Yeah, like you, not only does your content need to be engaging and interesting, but it also has to match the brand, and it has to fit what within your client's means. And you also have to make sure you have a great crew that's going to mesh well with each other and bring their A game.
Yep. Yeah, that plays a big part. If like people don't mesh well, everything falls apart, and you might not be able to see it behind the scenes, but it will show in the film on maybe the lighting wasn't correct, or this wasn't right, or the script wasn't right. So making sure everyone's on the same page is definitely going to be good.
Yes, and that starts in pre-production. And what key players you want to pick for your production.
Yep.
And who's going to be a go-getter and bring it to life.
Awesome. So being on that topic of picking the people, what is it like? What do you look for when you're looking for maybe a script, or when a client comes to you and say, hey, we want to do this commercial, or we want you to film this? What do you really look for in the script, especially if a client gives you a script, but it doesn't kind of fit the vision that they might see or you might see?
So that has happened a number of times. It will continue to happen. Clients like to say, hey, I need a 30 seconds spot, or I need a 60-second spot, but their copy is like 3 to 4 minutes. So it's like, okay, now we have to get with our writer and have to tailor it to fit not only their brand, but to also make sure that it's fitting within those means of that 30-second spot or that 60-second spot. Because once you buy that, it's like a media buy to advertise it,
right?
On all media, media forms. You have to make sure you fit within those constraints.
Sure.
So you don't want your spot going over and then they're cutting it short and not playing it,
right,
fully on TV or social media.
Or they might have to overcharge them, right? Or they might have to charge them for like utilizing that space if they do go over.
Exactly. So it's you want to make sure, like, okay, here's our cutoff. Here's what we got. Here's how it's going to work.
Right.
So looking for a script, what we look for in a script is meaning, and if it's going to fit the brand. And once we have those elements, sometimes it still has to go through the company's lawyer, to make sure that the wording is correct. Because we do a lot of corporate, I work on a lot of corporate videos for the company I work for, as well as, independently. And even with the infomercials, you have to make sure that it's tailored to fit what they're selling, as well as their brand, and the audience they want to gravitate to. So yeah, it's got to have meaning.
Sure. It's
got to fit their brand, and it's got to be able to be on point with timing.
That's true.
I haven't necessarily worked on a number of films, but I've done a short film, and again, that even had to be within the time constraints.
Yep.
And it had to make sense, and it had to gravitate to an audience. You know, it had to get the viewer to really want to engage.
Yep. That's true. So when it comes to like viewers being engaged, like, does that fall more on the director, I'm guessing, right? To really kind of bring that vision, saying like, hey, let's do this, let's do this. Is it more of the director's job to kind of like say like not only action, but all right, let's change the camera here, or tell the actor or actress, let's bring more life into your voice. So is that the director's role to kind of almost be like the conductor of the set?
The director is definitely the conductor, and you know, he really has to engage with the crew. You know, he has to be able to show control, you know, take leadership rather of the crew. And I also feel like it lies on the DP as well, because without those two, I feel like you're missing some key elements,
right?
You know, you're missing some key components. You're missing the number ones in your crew. You know, like a producer can direct, but I feel like that's not necessarily some producers' fortes, because they could be timid.
Sure.
Whereas me, I've been an assistant director, so I know I'm ready for, you know, taking on that ownership of directing, you know.
There you go.
And you want to be able to have the trust there of the talent as well, to be able to get them to give their best, give their best performance, because they are the ones that's actually selling this as well. So if the director doesn't do a great job with getting a handle of the crew and the actors and actresses, then you're not getting a successful production.
That's true. That's true. So now that we have kind of like the production piece, let's swing back to that financial piece. Like how do you manage different pieces of the business? Not only finding a location, that has to probably have pay involved, or paying the talent. How do you know what is the right pay, and what happens if you go over budget, and you have to deal with that? Like, how does that all work together now? Because now, being in this industry, especially if you're producing or being a director or a camera person, you still need to know the financial part on budgeting, and being maybe a self entrepreneur, you have to figure out, how can I price myself so I'm not pricing too low, or I'm not pricing too high, I'm meeting in the middle. But also there's the gear involved, whether it's buying it or renting it, and paying your crew. So how does that all come together where it makes sense, and trying not to be stressful?
The financials can be stressful, because then you have to actualize those financials after the job is done and see the actual damage. So yeah, you can come up with a budget and feel as though you're on point with your budget. But when those actuals come into play, you're like, oh wow. And that comes from mismanagement of your budget, mismanagement of what funds you can spend. You know, so I like to, whenever I pick a crew, I like to ask them what's their day rate, you know, and make sure I have that day rate in my budget.
Right.
You know, and then I also like to, because you never want to nickel and dime your crew. Right. You always want to be like, okay, that's what their cost is. Cool. If I have it in my budget, that's what we're going to work with. If not, then I'm going to have to go with someone else.
Right.
And you have to be mindful, if you go with someone else who is within your budget, what's their experience like?
True.
You know, so is it quality over quantity? You know, sometimes you have to suck it up and move some things around within your budget to make sure that you're getting the best team that you need.
Right.
So I would say, make sure you know your crew's day rate. Factor in, before you even give like your clients how much it's going to cost, you need to factor in your crew, all your crew, your gear needs, the location, talent,
right,
pre-production costs, post production costs, and then post-production costs. Knowing those things will help you develop a budget that's going to fit the client's pockets or not fit the client's pockets. But it's also, they have to think about quality over quantity and what are they trying to sell here,
right?
And what do you want your viewer to see here, and what I like to do is I have this fanny pack that I like to keep rate cards. Right. I like to keep receipts, I like to make sure like I have everything in that fanny pack so that at the end of a job, I have everything I need for actualization. Okay. What I try to do is I try to start actualizing as we're filming so that I know where we're starting to net out. Okay. So that I know, we're staying in budget. We're actually doing a good job. That way I can factor in some of that cost for my production needs in case we, we'll fix it in post, because that's what a lot of directors like to say. We'll fix it in post. Because your post is what's going to cost the most. Right. Because
that's the time of the editing and the this and that.
Yeah, because that's done hourly. That's an hourly rate. Okay. Whereas a producer, a director, anyone on the crew is a day rate. Right. And you're fine with that because your days are like 10 hour, between 10 and 10 and a half hour days. So anything over that is overtime, but you've already factored that in your budget. You've already factored in the overtime. So, okay, I have these many hours, for the day, and then this is how much it's going to cost if we go over. Right. And I try my best to keep my director on schedule, because the producers are the one who creates the schedule. Sure. So I try to make sure I'm like sticking with the time here. Like I'll give a little tick on the watch, like, hey, this is how many hours we got left. Like, let's get her in gear. Yep. And then it's also, I feel like a good producer, when they're helping with time, they can say, hey, why don't we try doing scene 3, shot 1, so that you can get the talent built up. Right. And then come back and do the intro, because now they're feeling comfortable. Right. You know what I mean? So that can help with time. Just being a little key, little component, like, hey, maybe try this. Yep. And it directors are receptive. So some directors are. So. Right. True. Because they also see it as their art as well. Yep. But yeah, like I would definitely say, with a budget, once you create it, because you also have to think about permits too. I forgot that part, but yeah, permits, contracts. Yes, those can, just so many little things. Food, craft services, because not only is there catering, but there's craft services. Right. True. So all of that plays a factor, and transportation plays a factor. How are you getting your talent there? How are you getting your clients there? How's the gear getting there? How's the set getting there? Right. Set is another compartment. Just because you have the location doesn't mean you don't have to dress the set. Right. So props. And weather conditions too can play a factor. Yeah, weather conditions definitely can play a factor. So you have to factor in the a makeup day if it rains or if it snows. Yep. Because that's a day miss, but you still have to pay. You still have to pay your crew. That's true. I didn't think about that. You still have to pay the crew. You still have to pay the location. Okay. And there's also gear that was supposed to be used that day could have been used in another shoot. That's true. And you don't want to double book if something happens, and then you got to work that out, and the list goes on and on. So. Yeah. Prepare for the unexpected. Exactly. Prepare those financials well. Even if you're like, your gut's telling you, maybe I should add it in. Add it into your budget. That's true. Now, do you feel that maybe people should go to school for this, or like what steps should they take to actually get into this industry? Is school really good, or should it just be more the school of YouTube?
which we see a lot of people do, and people do make it being self-learners, but then it's that missing component of, if you go to school, you can meet contacts and work together as a group. So what's the best way to kind of go in this industry, especially now?
So I feel that you can do a workshop, that you can do an internship, you can shadow, you can work with your film office to learn the ins and outs of what films are coming into town, what permits and licensing they need. I went to school and got 2 degrees, and I feel like that was a waste. You know, half the people that I work with at the company that I work for either are self-taught or they took a workshop and this is something they do. You know, now I also feel like with being an independent person that you can learn by going to conferences. You can learn by different forums. You know, if it's something that's like technical, oh, you're gonna pick that up. You know, that's something I feel that can be self-taught. You know, I don't always feel like you need to go to school to learn those things. You know, even as a writer, you know, like we take writing in high school. You know, if you got it, you got it.
That's
you
true.
know, and you normally know that when you're in high school.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So it's like I'm very biased when it comes to putting money into a school, and you either come out working in an industry or you don't. You know, and half the time some of us don't come out working in the industry. You know,
that's true. I mean, a lot of my friends, if I had to count on one hand, there's probably only maybe a good 4 to 5 people that I know that stuck in that field of photography, film, or audio production. So, I mean, I love my school. Wilm U. Yes, I love you guys.
Represent.
But yes, Wildcats. But it is kind of, it's sad. Now, I know in this industry it's very rough. If you're not living in the LAs of the world or the New Yorks of the world, and if you live in a small state like Delaware, yes, it can be hard. But I always say, you know, there's less competition if you're in a small state, because you can become that film production company that your state does not have. And the fact that we're tax-free in Delaware, think about it. You probably get tax breaks for maybe being a minority or being a student. Or
you definitely can.
There's grants, there's a lot, and
there's so much land here.
And there's so much land, correct? And they're building up places, and you can be that film company that people maybe from New York, DC, New Jersey, PA will gravitate towards, because Delaware is pointing in the center where it's a 2-hour drive no matter which way you go. So that would be a great way to maybe put Delaware on the map. Or if someone has a dream of producing or have an idea in Delaware, that could be a great way to branch out, because there's no big, huge production company.
There's no competition. However, there's also a need for a film office here. I know that there's a somewhat of a film office here, but
I think it's Film Brothers or something.
I'm not sure if it's Film Brothers, but it's normally run by the state.
Like Clear Channel or?
No. It would be an actual like Delaware film office.
Oh, okay.
And I think it's in Dover, but you know, they're hardly ever responsive.
Right.
You know, so that's where it gets a little hard and tricky. You know, I feel like someone else needs to take that over in order for it to be successful and us to have films, you know, done here, you know, or anything. Like there are corporate videos that are shot here, but what about commercials or film?
Right.
You know, that could help not only put Delaware on a map, but it could help with funding for the state.
Right, sure. And maybe tourist attractions, like we can have Delaware's first state Sundance or something along those lines, which would be pretty cool.
Exactly. And not only that, like it's going to also aid in providing jobs.
Right.
And it's also going to aid in allotting our youth to see that there are good things that come out of Delaware.
That is true. That is true. Now, when it comes to the films, the travels, the this that you've been on, what has been maybe the most elaborate film set you've been on? The destinations you've been to, like what was like that wow moment that you saw?
I think the wow moment for me has been the entertainment cruises that I go on. So like it's like a concert, like a number of concerts on a cruise ship. Nice. You're sailing and there's concerts going on and you're filming them. So I think that was the moment where I was like, Mama, I made it. Not the infomercials, not the commercials, not the reality TV shows, but the cruise ship entertainment videos have been like, wow. Because I've traveled to a number of places, and I was telling my family the other day, like I've been to 20 countries.
Oh wow.
Yeah, 20 countries on my way to that 195 that we have.
Did you get your passport stamped a lot? All right, there you go.
I'm on my second passport, so
okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Pretty cool. Being able to meet the artists and have access to them up close and personal.
Right.
And see that they're just everyday people just like us.
Right. Do they feel like they want to be treated like a human? Like when you first meet them, like what is that initial reaction? Is it like starstruck, or is it more like a conversation like, hey, you're X, Y, and Z, you're a regular person like me? Like I know some people might feel, especially if they're interning and they meet a celebrity, it's almost like an out-of-body experience, and they're like, oh my gosh, and you can't really do that. You got to be professional. So like, yes, the actors and actresses, they might be big names, but they do want to be treated as a person.
Yeah. Well, you've been with me on Time Life.
Yes.
Tom Joyner was great.
Tom Joyner, yes, he was awesome.
He was so down to earth. He was like, I can't get a hug. I can't leave without getting a hug from you. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
All right now. Miss Mary Wilson from the Supremes. She was phenomenal. Do you know she still texts me?
Lucky.
She still texts me. She is so awesome.
That's awesome.
And she we just recently did like a small shoot with her because it was the 10th anniversary for Malt Shop Memories.
Oh, nice.
So that was cool, and hey Key, how you doing? And I'm like, oh, hey.
She remembered your name.
She remembered me.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, this is awesome. And I found that I never get starstruck. I just go in and I introduce myself and say, hey, here's what's going to happen today. And yeah, we get right into it, and the infomercials we rehearse the day before. So we already have kind of like a bond.
Now, so you and the talent?
The talent, yeah. Me, the talent, and the director rehearsed it, and the client rehearsed the day before.
Now, do they all have to be in the same area, or can you rehearse like over the phone or through like video conferencing? Like, how does that go if the talent has to fly in on the day?
So that's normally how it happens. They fly in on the day of rehearsal. And we go to a hotel that they're staying at, and it's like a hotel conferencing room that will do wardrobe. We'll check out wardrobe that they're going to wear, make sure that it fits, and then after we do that, we sit down and we have a rehearsal. We like for our talent to be present.
Right.
You know, because rehearsing over the phone, that's not going to work. Mm-hmm. You know, you're not going to get the attitude and the emotion in it. You know, you want to have it visual.
Right.
So yeah, having them right there. And for me, sometimes seeing them on set helps me better. But, you know, I get sometimes they can't fly in early enough. So
sure,
we have, you know, they have other obligations. So we have to do what we have to do to make sure that we do get a rehearsal in.
Yep.
Whether it's on set or at the hotel.
Nice. So now when it comes to like being on set, there has been a breakthrough with people of color really producing like great films. So one being Tyler Perry.
I love him.
Yes,
he's doing real big things, especially big like things. Having his own studio.
The only person.
The only African American studio. Now we just need a distribution company.
company.
And we're in there.
And then we're in there. Yeah. So like it, like shout not only that, shout out to Tyler Perry.
We'll be working together soon, very soon.
Yes. 2020 Atlanta.
Yes.
Here we come. Yes, Tyler Perry. We got Deborah Martin Chase, and I didn't even know this. Whitney Houston produced The Princess Diaries.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Disney, and that's been a big movie.
You've
Ice
got
Cube,
Ava DuVernay,
yes.
Ice Cube, yeah.
Yep, Ice Cube. Are we there yet?
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy, the Wayans brothers. The list goes on, and it's just great to see, like, African Americans, Black people, just really having now being the forefront. Because before, we never had those jobs. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't for, let's say, Sidney Poitier, we wouldn't have lead actors and maybe actresses, the Denzel Washingtons, the Kerry Cicely. Washington, yes. Cicely, yes. Yeah. So Angela Bassett, yes. There's like
Auntie Angela, yes.
Yep, they paved the way for people like us, mm-hmm. Young boys, young girls, to really say, hey, I can actually do this. Because if you think about it, us being Black, we never had like superheroes. If mm-hmm. we thought about it, we couldn't picture us being like a Wonder Woman or a Superman or a Spider-Man or a Batman. But until Black Panther came out, that's when people was like, wow, I can be a superhero now. I see someone that looks like me, talks mm-hmm. like me, has friends like me. So it's really great to see now that like people of color is breaking the barriers and breaking through. Like Tyler Perry has his own film company out of his own money, mm-hmm. and no other person really like backing him, and he's just doing it and making it, which is awesome.
Yeah, it really is awesome. It's great to see that, you know, he really grinded mm-hmm. to get to where he is, you know, and to make sure it was owned right, you know.
Yep.
Which is great. Like, he is paving the way for us.
Mm-hmm.
He's, an inspiration to me, you know. Right. Like, I'm already, you know, I have some things in the works for 2020 that I'm excited about.
Nice.
You know, so I'm just now thinking about distribution,
mm-hmm.
because I would love for us to have distribution. I would love for to go through my own for distribution.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I know somebody's out there and I know it's going to happen.
Yep.
And then I'm also like, well, if I build it, they will come.
That's true.
You know, so that's something I'm keeping in the back of my mind too. Distribution mm-hmm. is on my set of goals for 2020.
There you go. Now, for people who don't understand what distribution is in the film industry, what is that?
So think of distribution as your Netflix, your Hulu, your avenue of getting your production out.
Okay.
You know, Amazon, mm-hmm. you know, BET Her is coming out, but that's a streaming company, so it's not necessarily distribution.
Right.
I would like to see one of us own our own distribution company, and
like a Netflix or a Hulu mm-hmm. that produces like in studio as well as
yes. Yeah, so not only are they like you said, producing their own production, but they're pushing it out, you know, because they have that streaming service. They have those avenues to make that happen.
Right.
And once that happens, you're not going to be able to tell us anything.
That's true. That's true. That's true. I agree.
Because we are already changing the game up. You know, like Wakanda, like you mentioned, Wakanda, that was almost an all-black cast.
Yeah. From the director on down.
I can't necessarily say for all crew, but definitely for the cast. You know, there were some that weren't us, you know, that were in the movie, but just to see someone who looked like me on screen and being a superhero, you know, just like the soldiers who were women.
Yep, that's a big thing.
Yeah, the soldiers who were women who had their back. That was beautiful.
And to stay on that topic, it just shows how, like, that was definitely a breakthrough for women. Even if we even take the Marvel movie, the last Marvel film, Endgame. Spoiler alert, hopefully everyone has seen it. But like when all the women banded together, that everyone in the movie theater just started cheering. Like all the girls started cheering and the women started cheering. So it just shows like how women of color, just all women are really banding together
for changing the game.
For change. And we're seeing that across all channels, whether it be in the work field now. Women are becoming those CEOs, those CFOs, those top heads of the company now. It's not male driven now. It's like all driven. No matter you're male or female. The women who couldn't be in these like engineering jobs are now being the lead engineers for a lot of things, and that's really awesome to see.
All while having a family at home. All while being able to take care of a family. You know, so like not only are they in these lead positions, but then they go home and still give their best to their family.
That's true. And even though they say people can't multitask, women know how to multitask. Oh yeah. So now when it comes to that and the breakthrough, we do see now, unfortunately, the not so good in the film industry. And there's been a lot. There's been this big push, and I'm glad there's been a push in the Me Too movement. And women had to, and men, but women had to really be silent for so long and maybe had to do things they weren't proud of. But now it's coming to light. And I'm glad that it's coming to light. Taking that darkness out and bringing everything to light. So hopefully you haven't been put in a situation like this, but have you been or seen anyone who's been put in an awkward situation being in the industry that you're in because it's male driven?
Yes, I've been put in two different types of positions. One where someone tried to take advantage of me, where he felt as though because we were coworkers that we had an intimate relationship, you know, and I never gave off that aura or facade. You know, it's like, dude, you're married with children. Like, we're coworkers. You know, so I was a bit taken back, and it was uncomfortable. You know, it's and I still have to work with this guy. You know, so I'm very precautious and standoffish, and I make sure doors don't get closed. You know, when he's around. Because I want everyone to not only see but hear what's being said. You know, and then I had to deal with racism. You know, from a client. So, and I feel like the company that I'm with didn't necessarily back me up with it. And it's like, I feel like I'm selling my soul sometimes.
Right.
Because I'm still with this company. But yeah, I don't feel like they quite backed me up, because to them it was about money, right. Just because you take me off the project, but you're still continuing to work with this client.
Right. Because then that shows, unfortunately, they're siding with the client over the person who's been with them for a long time. Yeah. Sometimes I feel money shouldn't be an option. It should be like, well, unfortunately, we can't work with you. Thank you for your time. And kind of just move it along and find it. There's always going to be a client somewhere else.
Right. There definitely is. There's always going to be money to get out there. And you just got to be able to pick and choose who you're going to work with. And for me, being an independent, being a freelancer, I've been able to have that option to pick and choose, okay, is this good for my brand or is this not good for my brand? Which has been great, looking at it from the corporate and freelance point, it's like freelance is a no-brainer, and that's why I'm pushing so hard with building my own brand and starting my own.
Yeah. Because, I mean, that's good to know, too, because when it comes to picking and choosing, because if you were to side with something that is not socially right, that can still bite you in the end, where now someone could accuse a company of maybe racism or sexism or anything like that. So from a corporate side, people should realize, okay, this is a corporation, this is my business, this is this, but do I want to be associated with something like that? Because there's going to be a ripple effect where if you side with something that's bad or that's negative, and you might think, no one's going to care about it, it can trickle down eventually, and people might blacklist a company or be like, boycott it, and now you're dealing.
I've seen that happen. I've seen that whole ripple effect trickle down to a lawsuit. And a company trying to save face by giving hush money. It's a terrible thing, and it's uncomfortable on all parties' behalves. Right. Wow, that brings me to another situation where I had to shut down a production because of an incident that happened it was a medical incident, a medical procedure we were filming.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was brought on last minute, excuse me, as a media consultant. So, because I was a nurse in my former life. So I was brought on as a media consultant, and I realized that the patient we were using, his vein had collapsed. So it's like, okay, we have to stop, filming immediately and get his veins together. But like I stopped production down for a week once I found out that there weren't any release forms signed, and like there were no permits or proper contracts. And I was like, okay, now I gotta put my producer hat on, even though I'm not the lead here.
Right.
But they could have ultimately been sued. They could have it could have been bad for all of us.
Yep.
So that was a very scary thing.
Right.
I'm very thankful that, the company I was working with wasn't sued, but whew.
That's true.
Yeah.
But that's good that you are aware, because not only maybe you was looking at the script or looking at the talent or making sure this is going on, you was aware of a health situation that was going on, and you took that lead to stop where someone might be saying action and keep filming.
Yeah.
You took the lead to say, hey, we're going to close down this production for a day, a week, and make sure the talent is okay. and then come back. But in doing so, you found out other things that was a misstep.
Yeah.
So that's good that you took the lead, the initiative that maybe someone else should have took, but they kept it silent.
Yeah.
And you had a voice and you took that.
I felt like I had to have a voice because of the fact that my name's on this.
Sure.
You know, I don't want to be blacklisted. I don't want to have a case. You know, that's not what I signed up for.
Right.
You know, what I signed up for was to have fun.
Yep.
You know, and make sure that we're getting what we need for the video. Make sure that the production is going nice and swiftly.
That's
you know?
true.
Getting her, you know, having the proper insurance. Oh my goodness. Please make sure you have proper insurance before you start filming.
Yeah, you want to make sure you're insured. You want to have liability.
Yeah,
not only for definitely yourself, your company,
but your gear.
You want to make sure that you want to make sure even maybe
the location, proper permits. You know, the certificate of insurance. You definitely want to have one of those. And not only your gear, but for your crew and location.
Sure. And depending on what you're filming, maybe you have EMT on staff, depending on what it is that you're doing. If it's something maybe with pyrotechnics, you might want to have the fire department on staff or just different things that...
Body doubles,
Yep, body double stunt people in the event something happens.
You definitely need them.
You're covered.
Even when it's a food shoot, you definitely want to have
an EpiPen available.
Yes, you do. You do. Not only that, like you also want to have the fire department available. Things go up in flame.
That's true.
Been there, done that.
And you want to make sure everyone is safe. That is the most important part. Make sure the company is safe. Make sure you're safe and the talent is safe. Because at the end of the day, we're all people. We all want to be safe.
And we all want to go home at the end of the day.
That is true. That is true. So what would you fully change about the industry that you're in? If you can change anything, what would be one of the main things?
I would say I would like to see women of color take more ownership. And what I mean by that is don't be timid to have a seat at the table. Don't be timid to create your own table. Create your own table so they can't take it away from you. And don't be scared to get your vision out there. You know, be confident that what you're creating is going to attract audiences. You know, I think that I'm going back to this idea of distribution. I would like to see us own a distribution company. Ownership is definitely what I'd like to see change within the within our community, within our community, within the industry. Yeah.
Nice. So when it comes to change, when it comes to being a producer, what keeps you wanting to be a producer? What keeps you wanting to be in this industry?
What keeps me wanting to be in this industry is the fact that I can be creative every day. I can try something new every day, learn something new every day. I'm like a big kid in a candy store.
Nice.
Being able to touch everything, you know, and being able to take it all in as like a sponge, and then push it out into creative works that I work on.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So what has your father, mother, sister, brother, friends, what have they talked to you about, or how have they inspired you?
My friends and family have definitely inspired me. They're so supportive. They know that I want to do a documentary on being of color and dealing with social norms. They know I want to push the envelope with race, talking about racism, talking about culture, talking about classism, talking about survival, talking about poverty. So they've given me food for thought. They've been there to question me, why, and challenge me, and I love that.
Nice.
That's what helps you grow.
That's true.
And that's also plays a factor in your creative thinking.
That's true. Also,
being able to be challenged is like, wow, okay, well, let me think about this differently. Because you could have one way of thinking about it, but then they could provide another outlet, right? Of a different way of thinking about it.
So always getting that extra set of eyes or ears,
definitely,
on what you're working on is really good.
Yeah, and utilizing them sometimes in your productions.
Because that makes a world of difference. That can change everything from a small moment to a big moment.
Exactly. You never know. They could have the funding you need. They could have the backing. They could, be a executive producer or a director, for you, or give you an idea that will help you with what you've already creatively have put together.
That's true. That is so true. So, when would you want to have your breakthrough to start your own company?
So I've been actually working on that breakthrough. And I have some things in the works for first quarter of next year that I'm excited about.
Nice.
I'm in the midst of starting to look for funding because the second quarter I have to have some spots done for air. So it's moving rather quickly, but I'm excited about it.
Nice.
Yeah. Awesome. So I will definitely keep you up to date on my progress and up to date on what's going on. We'll be collaborating.
Yes. I'll be there. I'll be there. And what message would you send to women of color, women, young girls? What message would you really send to them on maybe why should they maybe get into the creative field, the film industry, the entertainment industry? What would you give them? What message?
I would say come with a goal and a plan and utilize your resources to help you with that goal and that plan. Don't think because you're a female that you don't have the right to be in this business. Don't think because of your color or your race that you have a right to be in this business. That you don't have a right to be in this business. Because you do. You definitely have a right to be in this business. You have a right to have a seat at the table. You have a right to own that table. Look at Shonda Rhimes. They gave her the table.
Yeah.
Look at Ava. She's taken over the table. Okay? So research who you want to be like. I was affiliated with Women in Media, and I loved being able to talk to the young ladies in Women in Media and pick their brains about what avenue they wanted to go in within the industry and get them thinking, and it's so great to see how successful they are becoming, So I would definitely say research who you want to be like, connect with them, and don't be afraid. Show ownership. Don't be afraid.
Awesome. So to all the women out there, women of color, show ownership. Don't be afraid. You have a voice.
Yes, you do.
You have a key to your success.
Yes, you do.
And you are really your own roadblock. So really push through that roadblock, because you can do anything that you set your mind to. There's already people who paved the way for you. Mm-hmm. So now it's up to you to pave your dreams and pave the way to the next generation.
Yes. Yes. Because fear is a myth. Mm-hmm. Yep. Fear is a myth. Our ancestors didn't know about fear. We were taught fear.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? That's actually really good.
So, what I mean by that, going to Africa this year has really helped me to get more in tune with our ancestors and our spirituality. Right. And going over there and seeing how we lived before being civilized, before the Europeans created civilization, or colonialization, rather, I should say. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't an idea of fear. Right. There was confidence. Mm-hmm. Each of those tribes had confidence. Mm-hmm. They showed ownership. Mm-hmm. Fear wasn't instilled until the Europeans instilled it in us. Mm. So that's why I say ownership. Mm-hmm. Own your thinking. Mm-hmm. Own that seat at the table. Own your own table.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Mm-hmm. Now that you mentioned that, I just thought about it. Instead of when it comes to ownership, people might want to buy the latest shoe or the latest this or the mm-hmm. latest that. Why not own part of that company?
Exactly.
Or why not create that company? Invest in yourself and in your future. So if you really want to be a film producer, create that next mm-hmm. studio.
Yeah, build that studio. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Research how Tyler Perry did it. Ask him how he did it. Yeah. He will tell you. Mm-hmm. So build it. They will come.
That's true. It takes one email. It takes one tweet. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, we're living probably in the best generation of information
social
that has
media
ever been.
It's branched out. It's on fire. Mm-hmm.
You could create that one YouTube clip, mm-hmm. or you can say that one thing that goes viral, and now your company or yourself as a brand just blows up.
Yeah.
But you also should know, how are you going to be prepared for that? So you always want to prepare yourself for that breakthrough or your next breakthrough.
Yeah, because sometimes you don't even know that it's going to happen. It just automatically happens. You're blessed, mm-hmm. With it. And it's that breakthrough is something you've been doing for a while. It's just that it finally hit you.
Right.
So remove the fear, mm-hmm. remove the timidness, remove the negative way of thinking. Mm-hmm. Own it.
Awesome. So thank you very much, Key, for this amazing podcast. This is Errol E. from Every Moment with Errol E. with the wonderful Key.
Thank you.
You're welcome.